Hey, good morning, everybody. So I am here. This is Joe Hafner. I'm here at the Hafner Real Estate Command Center, and today we're doing real estate Q&A. So today I had someone I was talking to yesterday who's never bought a home. She's a millennial, and she's saying, "Okay, if I want to buy a home, where do I start?" So I know that's a big question. Even if you've bought a home before, but it's been 10, 15 years since you last bought one, you might want to know, where do I begin in this home search? I'll tell you where most people begin is they get on the internet and they start looking at homes. That's not necessarily the best way to go. So before I get into too many details, let me just ask a favor. If you are seeing this and you think someone would benefit from this, share this link with them and let them take a look at it so they can learn what they need to know to get started to buy a home. Like I said the other day in my session the other day, buying a home is one of the best ways in America there is to build wealth. So if you know somebody who needs to know how to get started buying a home, share this video with them, send them to take a look at this. If you like getting video content and seeing the real estate Q&A that I've been doing, go to Hafner Real Estate on Facebook and like the page so you can get more of this. And so, looking at houses on the internet, not necessarily the best way to go, and here's why. You start looking at them, odds are you don't know what your price range is, odds are you don't know what you qualify for, odds are you don't know what your budget is, you don't know how that home is going to impact things, so you start looking at these homes and you fall in love with something, and then you go to figure out what you can spend, and it's not the house that you can get what you were looking at. So that is something that can be a challenge. If you're online looking at all those houses out there and you don't know what you're spending, it's like going to buy a car and going to visit the Lamborghini dealership and looking around there and then find out, oh, I can only afford a Buick. And then now you go to the Buick dealership, and even though Buick makes some very fine cars that are very cool looking, you're disappointed just because you're expecting a Lamborghini. So before you resist the urge to get online and start looking at those houses, and before you do that, here's the first thing that you need to do. Number one, you need to figure out what your budget is. And I don't even mean your budget to buy a house. I mean, what is your family budget for maintaining your lifestyle, for paying rent, buying groceries, getting gas, entertainment, food, dining, all that stuff. If you don't have a budget, just make a list on a piece of paper of everything that you bring in every month, all the income that comes in, and all the expenses that you have, all the bills you have, and figure out what you have to spend and how much money do you have left over, either going into savings or you're spending on lattes or you're spending it wherever, and figure out where you're at with that. Because if you have that budget in place, now you can start to figure out what you can afford in a house. Because one of the worst things I see people do is they don't figure out where they're at in their home budget. They go to a lender, the lender says, oh, you qualify for this. Well, what you qualify for and what you can afford are not necessarily the same thing. So I see people, they go find out what they qualify for, they go buy a house without checking their budget, and then next thing they know, they're in this house. The monthly payment is eating up all of their income that's left over after paying their bills, and they're eating ramen noodles in a nice house, but they're not living their life in a way that they want to. So I would say start by figuring out your home budget. Next thing you need to do is you want to get with a lender to find out what you qualify for, unless you're fortunate enough to be in a position where you have cash to pay for a house. If you have cash, you can skip the lender altogether. But even before you go to the lender, I would suggest you get with a real estate professional, someone like me who's been in the business for a while, who knows the market, who knows what you can get for what price, where they can sit down and just go through and have a buyer consultation. Most people, they just want to get in the car and go look at homes, and they don't take any time. And agents are guilty of this too, where they get you in the car, they show you homes, and they don't take any time slowing down to explain the home buying process to you. If you have a good understanding of how all that works, you end up with a much, much better experience than you would if you just get in the car and start looking at properties, because it's a process with a lot of moving parts where things can come up that are surprises, where if you've gone through and you've gone step by step, what is the process to buy a house, you're going to have a lot fewer surprises. You're going to have a lot fewer ups and downs, and you're going to have a more fun experience going to find that house. So first thing, get that family budget in order, figure out how much additional income you have, figure out what your current housing costs are and what you have left over, where you're spending money that maybe you could put aside to go towards that house. Number two, get with a real estate professional so you can learn what is the process to buying a house. What are the steps I need to take? Then the next thing after that, if you've got cash, good for you. Let's go find you a house for cash. If you don't have cash, most people don't, you need to go and see a lender. A lot of people, they stop before they even get started because like we talked about on Tuesday, they think they need some huge down payment to get started. So don't worry about where you're at in terms of how much money you've got in the bank or how much you've got for a down payment. Talk to that real estate professional, talk to that lender, find out in your current situation where you are, how much you have that you can put down for a down payment. What are some creative ways you could come up with a down payment? I mean, there's things like you can get a gift letter from a family member. You could there's things you can do to get that cash to be able to buy that house. So talk to the lender, find out what you qualify for, and only after you find out what you qualify for and if there's anything you need to do to get ready to be approved for that loan, only after you've done all that, now you have an idea, what is your monthly payment going to be? Does it fit into your budget? How much can you spend on the house you want to buy? Now you can walk into the process with your eyes open and know exactly what houses can I buy? And you're not looking at houses way above your price range. You're looking at houses that are right in your price range where you can buy something and start getting appreciation working for you. Everybody, when they go to buy a house, they want more than what they can get. It's just the way the world works. We always want a little bit more. Some people want a lot more, but most people, they want a little bit more than what they can get. So you want to be thinking about what are my needs? What are the things that I absolutely have to have? If you've got 7 kids, you might need 3 or 4 bedrooms, and that might be a non-negotiable, right? Having 3 bathrooms, that may be just a want. That may not be something you have to have. So if you can kind of lay out 5 or 6 things that these are my needs, these are the things I absolutely have to have, and then you have, okay, these are my wants, these are the things I would really, really love to have in my house, and then you have what I call the wouldn't it be great ifs. You know, hey, wouldn't it be great if there was a man cave? Wouldn't it be great if there was a hot tub? Wouldn't it be great if I had a huge fenced yard? Those are things that, man, if I get those in my house, a swimming pool, those are the kinds of things, if I give in my house, that would be awesome. I would love it. But if I find a house that doesn't have any of those things, it can still be a really great house for me and my family. So figure out those needs, figure out those wants, figure out the things you absolutely have to have, and now you've got a plan for when you look at these houses to see which boxes you can check off as you look. So when you find stuff, don't expect that you're going to find something that hits everything that you're looking for. You know, go thinking if I can get an 8 out of 10, I'm doing really well, and that's probably a house I need to consider. So there you go. That's how you get started. If you are sitting on the sidelines and you're not in the game for buying a house, and you're just sitting there making your landlord rich by paying for that, or you're in a house that is too small for you and your family, or you're an empty nester and you've got this giant house that just you and a spouse are kicking around and you have more space than you need, now is the time to get started figuring out what you need to do to buy a house. Just get the process started, because once you have that house and you own it, in Middle Tennessee over the last 20 years, the average home has gone up in value 5.7% a year. Can't do that math in my head really well, but 5% of $100,000 is $5,000. So if your house was going up in value $5,000 per year on average, and the average house in Middle Tennessee is 200 something. So let's say your house is going up in value $10,000, or even a $300,000 house is going up in value $15,000 a year. That's something that it's hard to save that amount of money without that house going up in value every year. So I know that there's a lot of people, they're afraid to start looking into this because they're afraid that they won't qualify, or they're afraid that they won't have enough down payment money, or they're afraid they won't find the house that they want. It is much better to face those fears, get with someone who can help you start looking, and figure out, a lot of times people, they're afraid that, I don't have enough down payment. Then they find out, hey, there's a loan program that works great where I don't need more of a down payment. And so if you're saving money, so let's say in your head, you think you need $20,000 to buy this house, and you could buy it right now with a fraction of that for your down payment, but you wait a year. Well, if it's a $300,000 house, that house just went up $15,000 in value, in price, because you were waiting to save $10,000 or $20,000. So don't allow those things to stop you. Don't allow fear to stop you from checking things out, because you're going to be able to build that wealth. I've seen people who, when they bought a house 20, 30 years ago and paid it off, I ran across a couple who were in California, okay? They bought a house 30 years ago, paid it off, and when they sold it, they bought it for $100-something thousand, and when they sold it, it was worth, I don't know, 1.5 or $2 million. You can't save money like that without that house, unless you are just really, really intense saver and putting every spare penny away. And most people just don't do that. That house is like a forced savings account that's going to give you wealth for you and your family down the road. So that's how to get started if you're ready to buy a house. Like I said, do me a favor, go to Hafner Real Estate on my Facebook page and like it so you can see more stuff like this. If you know someone who's thinking about buying a house, send them to this video, share it on their page, share it on your page if you think it's valuable information, and let's let people learn what they need to know so that more people can get off the sidelines and become a homeowner and build wealth. All right, we'll catch you later. Thanks.